Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Madness here on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is your girl, MF Michael Fletcher, alongside the boys, Anthony Florio and Michael Bullock. Normally, we'd be a little bit of a jovial, we'd be excited, on our feet, ready for another great show here tonight. And then early this morning, the rug got pulled out from under us, and again, this time we get hit with another death, another shocking passing, and this one, just like what happened with superstar Billy Graham just about a couple of weeks ago, we lose yet another living legend, another icon of the business. The Iron Sheik passing away early this morning um, from his home uh, in Gainesville, Georgia, at the age of 80, um, Fayetteville, Georgia, at the age of 80, died in his home, and this one really, really, really hurt. As many of you guys know, if you haven't followed the Iron Sheik's career, it's basically a glory of professional wrestling. Starting out in the 1970s, 1972, he made his debut. Of course, then he was jumping around different promotions. Started with the World Wrestling Federation in 1979, then left, joined Jim Crockett's promotions, which is the New England Wrestling Alliance, not New England Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA. Had a lot of success there. Then went back to the WWF in 1983, and that's when, at the time, he was the one to, he did the Parchman challenge, and you actually, as a matter of fact, we saw that challenge when you saw the A&E special, the where the WWE was looking for the most notorious treasures, trying to get back some of those artifacts from wrestling history that's been lost, and they wanted it to put it back in the archives. They wanted to bring it to the warehouse for future generations to remember. And one of those were those Persian clubs that the Iron Sheik was talking about. And as a matter of fact, it was Bob Backlund who actually had those clubs, and they were able to strike a deal and to get those clubs back to Stamford, Connecticut, and now it is currently in the warehouse, the legendary warehouse of the WWE. And then, of course, oddly enough, the man that he got the clubs was the man that they got the clubs from for the Iron Sheik. Those infamous clubs. That was the man that dropped the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Championship to the Iron Sheik in Madison Square Garden via a submission, the camel clutch. We all remember it. The infamous towel being thrown in the ring, marking the end of the match. And the Iron Sheik became the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion at the time, held the belt only to lose it to another superstar named Hulk Hogan. We all remember that day. It was the day that Hulkamania was born. The match itself is still considered a legendary match, as Hulk Hogan winning the title in Madison Square Garden in New York City, and what also started really a renaissance or a excitement level for the world of professional wrestling at the time. Wrestling was pretty big in the 1980s, but this took the WWF and the World Wrestling Federation to a whole new level when Hogan became the champion, knocking off the Iron Sheik. Sheik also had some time in WCW, and then also came back to the WWF, being the manager of the Sultan at the time. And there was a pretty good interaction there. Of course, uh, there was just so many good things that the Iron Sheik has done. And you want to talk about nuclear heat as a heel? This guy was, before there was Dominic Guerrero, before there was Triple H, before there was, Sergeant Slaughter and his Iraqi persona, before there was Ric Flair, there was the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik was one of those heels that you instantly did not like, did not respect, did not love. You wanted him to get his butt kicked any chance he got. Whenever he, basically broke your back and humbled you with that camel clutch, it was something to behold, man. Um, of course, he also did movies, he did television. There was the time that he was on the Howard Stern show, and they really tried to fire him up, doing these gimmicks, poking fun at Sheik. And Sheik was absolutely a legendary. Anthony Florio always refers to, the Iron Sheik, to some of his greatest. If you remember his Hall of Fame speech, that was so legendary. And of course, Anthony Florio saying those infamous words that Bobby the Brain Heenan said. Now, what the hell was he saying?
What the hell did he say?
Yeah. So, Iron Sheik is one of those guys. If you loved him or hated him, he was without a doubt one of the best in the game. His legacy is cemented. He's a Hall of Famer. Almost every wrestling promotion has him in their Hall of Fame. Um, the Iron Sheik gone at the age of 80. Heartbreaking loss to the world of professional wrestling. Every wrestler in the world came out, from Triple H to Ric Flair. Um, you name it, there was a who's who of people who just coming out, paying tribute, showing respect to one of the all-time greats. The Iron Sheik, unfortunately, was taken away from us and is now in paradise. He's probably camel clutching to quite a few guys up in heaven right about now. Big man up there. Um, Mind your words very carefully. You might end up in the camel clutch yourself there tonight, there, G. Just saying. So, nothing more to say. Anthony Florio, God, man, we were hurt when obviously superstar Billy Graham passed away
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, and now here we are again tonight. And another icon, another legend of the wrestling business has been taken away from us. The Iron Sheik passing away earlier this morning. Word getting out through via Twitter, social media, that we lost the Iron Sheik at the age of 80.
And it was our own Michael Bullock who reported it in our Talking Wrestling TXN Messenger chat this afternoon. And Superstar Graham was one thing, but this one hits a little more closer to home, especially for myself and Michael Bullock, because, when we started doing our, Raw chats, SmackDown chats, what have you, especially the Raw chats. I mean, in the early days of our Raw chats, I mean, we would always talk about the Iron Sheik when he was on the Howard Stern show and his funny antics on that, especially. There was one in particular that Bullock and I had a major laugh riot about, that infamous Iron Sheik Jr. moment that made myself and Bullock absolutely lose our minds in laughter. It was so funny. You have to see it and listen to it to believe it yourselves, because it was that hilarious. But to the serious business at hand, the Iron Sheik, very accomplished wrestler, And yes, MF, you're absolutely right. That was about a year or so ago when he was on the first installment, the first season of the Most Wanted Treasures with those Persian clubs. Yeah, I remember that very vividly. And of course, some time ago they had A&E also did a biography on the Iron Sheik, and I know we all saw it. I know I saw it. I watched all those things religiously, and I still do with the Treasure Show now. But yeah, I watched that, and man, it was there were parts of that was a little uncomfortable to watch, but it was still a very well done production, to say the very least. Check it out if you haven't already. But to the business at hand, when it comes to his resume, a two-time All-California Championship Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, a one-time Century Wrestling Alliance Heavyweight Champion. In 2016, was inducted into the George Trago / Lou Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Georgia Championship Wrestling was an NWA National Television Champion. International Association of Wrestling Heavyweight Champion down there. It was also a three-time co-holder of their tag team championship with Brian Costello, and also International Wrestling Association Intercontinental Champion, International Wrestling Association United States Heavyweight Champion, held the Toronto version of the NWA Canadian Heavyweight Championship in Maple Leaf Wrestling twice, NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, NWA All-Star Wrestling, Canadian Tag Team Champion, Vancouver version with the Texas Outlaw. And he and the Texas Outlaw also won the Canadian Tag Team Championship Tournament in 1978. In 2008, was inducted into the NWA Hall of Fame. NWA New Zealand was a British Commonwealth champion. NWA 2000 American Heritage champion. NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team champion with Bo Ramos. PWI ranked him number 134 of the 500 best singles wrestlers in the PWI years in 2003. And then in the PWI years, as far as tag teams were concerned, ranked him and Nikolai Volkov at number 96 of the 100 best tag teams of that same issue in 2003. And of course, where he had his most success, the World Wrestling Federation, became the World Wrestling Federation Heavyweight Champion. Day after Christmas, 1983, in Madison Square Garden, defeating Bob Backlund. Arnold Skaaland throws the towel in. We all remember that. Dropped it to Hogan a month later. And then, of course, the Iron Sheik is also the answer to a trivia question. Him and Nikolai Volkov are the answer to a trivia question. What was the very first? Who had the very first title change in the almost 40-year history of WrestleMania? It was the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov when they won the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship from Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, the U.S. Express, WrestleMania 1. And then that leads to his only reign as a co-holder of the WWF Tag Team titles with Nikolai Volkov. And then, of course, in 2005, took his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame, a class that I personally still consider to this day the greatest ever. When you think of all the legends who were inducted, not just the Iron Sheik, but Nikolai Volkov, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Jimmy Hart. The list goes on and on. Cowboy Bob Orton. I mean, you name it. And then lastly, the Wrestling Observer newsletter rated him the most underrated wrestler in 1980. But yeah, he was such a great heel, man. I mean, him and Nikolai Volkov, Nikolai would always sing the Russian national anthem, and then the Iron Sheik would get on the mic and say, Russia number one, Iran number one, USA, ha, puh. And yeah, I mean, we all remember that. That was always the shtick that they always used to have. And of course, his legendary interviews with Mean Gene Okerlund, he would always call him Gene Mean, and always talked about breaking people's backs, making them humble. I mean, he's it's hard for all of us. Yes, absolutely it is. But it's especially hard, and it's especially close to home for myself and Michael Bullock. I mean, especially, like I said, because of those funny antics he had on the Howard Stern show. When he would always talk, he always had he went to town on Randy Savage. Let me tell you. Randy Macho Man Savage, called him a cheap Jew, SOB. I always remember that. And of course, he was the one who originally came up with the term jabroni, like The Rock and Hogan usually like to say. He would always talk smack about Hulk Hogan on social media and go bleep yourself, the whole 9 yards. And, Bubba, the whole Bubba thing, I mean, yeah, but of course, I sent you guys the Hall of Fame speech earlier, as something for us to remember him by. And of course, I'll never forget Bobby Heenan with the "What the hell did he just say?" Oh yeah, that was hilarious. And he was a dastardly heel for many years. And let's also not forget one other thing that just came to my mind: the winner of the of that infamous gimmick battle royale at WrestleMania 17. And the only reason he was not even supposed to win that thing. The only reason he won that thing was because he couldn't take a bump over the top rope. That's the only reason he even won that thing. I'm sure they probably wanted to give it to somebody else, maybe Sarge or Hillbilly Jim or something. I don't know, but because he couldn't take a bump over the top rope, that's the only reason the Iron Sheik even won that Battle Royals. So, little fun fact there. But nonetheless, Khosrow Vaziri, the Iron Sheik, will be forever missed, and we'll never forget his great wrestling career. We'll never forget the antics on the Howard Stern show, Bullock and I especially, especially that Iron Sheik Jr. moment and all those Randy Savage moments. I mean, he was just a legend. He was a god, man. So on behalf of all of us here at Talking Wrestling TXN, our thoughts and prayers and condolences to the Iron Sheik's family, his friends, his fans, and every wrestler who was fortunate enough to work with him all these years, and all the legends, and of course, and the same goes for all of us here. And as I always like to say, or as we always like to say here, to the Iron Sheik, Khosrow Vaziri, nothing left for us to say. Thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and most of all, thank you for the Iron Sheik. Rest in peace, good sir. We will never forget you. That's all there is to it. So there isn't much more for me to say. Michael Bullock, Phenom, come on in. You're the one who had the unfortunate responsibility of reporting this afternoon in our chat, our messenger chat there. I know that was hard for you, but you did it anyway, and you beat me to it because I had just gotten the news and I was gonna, originally share it, but then I saw that Bullock had beaten me to it, But nonetheless, Bullock, like I said, a few weeks ago, superstar Billy Graham passing, that was one thing. But this one hits a little more closer to home, especially for you and I, because we'll never forget those funny antics he had on the Howard Stern show, especially that infamous Iron Sheik Jr. moment that we'll never, ever forget.
Oh, yeah, we'll never forget that that infamous, Iron Sheik when he was on the Howard Stern radio show, and man, I was just laughing my ass off at some of the things he did. I mean, it was just so entertaining, especially the whole Iron Sheik Jr. I mean, and two guys. I mean, the two fake. One of them was a fake Macho Man Randy Savage, and another was a fake version of the Killer Bees. I mean, and he went to town on all of them. But yeah, I mean, he also, obviously talked about when it comes to Hulk Hogan and yeah, all those things. I mean, it just makes him so entertaining. And of course, the Hall of Fame speech was just legendary. And of course, with especially when Bobby Heenan would be like, "What the hell did he just say?" I mean, oh man, I mean it's just so entertaining. He was accomplished a lot in the ring, of course, winning that WWE World Heavyweight Championship from Bob Backlund with the whole towel incident, and of course winning the tag team championships at the very first WrestleMania. So yeah, on behalf of all of us here, we definitely want to send our thoughts, prayers, and condolences to the friends and family of the late great Iron Sheik. So yeah, so rest in peace, my friend. And if you don't have respect for the Iron Sheik, then these fans here they'll put you in the camel clutch and they will break your back and make you humble.
Bubba.
Rest in peace, my friend.
Rest in peace,
So,
Bubba.
Fletch, as tough as it is, we have to move on.
Yeah, we do. There's really nothing more for us to say. It's time to start our version of the Talking Wrestling TXN. It's time to start our NXT recap, and we started off with a promo segment by Baron Corbin. Yeah, you know what? I gotta say, this was actually not bad. This was pretty good. Very serious. Very. I gotta say, this was he wasn't coming off like the comedy gimmick or anything else like that. I gotta say, personal best. I think him being on I think him being on NXT might do wonders with them. And the only thing, the only thing that's left that's missing with him, it's time for him to go back to the lone wolf gimmick. It's time for him to go back to that lone wolf gimmick, give him the music again. That no more Happy Corbin. The Happy Corbin gimmick is done. It's buried. It should be left behind. It's time that you transition him. Get him back to the lone wolf. When he was the lone wolf, that was when he had his best run in WWE. I think it's time that they give him that gimmick back, and they're going to give him an opportunity because you got guys like Ilya Dragunov. He actually jumped him and left an impact on him. Really, really, really good, serious promo. I could say non-wrestling segment of the night. I don't think there's anything that was even better than this, at least when it comes to NXT. So, Anthony Florio, shocking. Baron Corbin actually doing really well. He did really well with this promo.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, going into that, I was ready to tune him out, but I'm like, you know what, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because I've always liked the lone wolf character, and I agree with you 100%, MF. He needs to go back to that. They need to repackage him as the lone wolf. You do that, we're good then. Because ever since that whole constable nonsense, I mean, his character has become just so damn unlikable. And, to the point of go away. No one cares. No one likes you. But I will say this. Last night was a fine opening for last night. Playing up the chaos that came from Corbin's return to NXT last week. The lone wolf makes sense as an NXT veteran, looking back on the good old days without the crowd supporting him. Ilya Dragunov should be looking for a shot at the NXT championship, and he presents a unique challenger for Corbin. It was surprising to not see Carmelo Hayes right off the bat, but the Gold brand has time to keep building the feud. Hopefully, Melo versus the Czar is the longer-term goal, while Corbin can be an early, credible speed bump for that match. And you notice Dragunov showed a large black bruise on the right side of his body from the Battleground match with Dijak. And then after the face-off, Trick Williams clotheslined Corbin out of the ring. And then the Czar headed to the back where he was ambushed by Braun Breaker. Oof. So with that, I agree. It was the non-wrestling segment of the night and one of the best Corbin promos maybe ever. I got to give him credit where it's due. He wasn't doing any of that ridiculous Happy Corbin nonsense that, was at the point of go away, like I said. But, he took it seriously and not that any of that funny ha-ha nonsense that him and Moss used to pull that made us, roll our eyes all the time about a year or so ago. But very good work. So color me impressed. And you guys know it. It's well documented. I do not impress easy. And he actually did impress me. I'll give him that. So So not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, when you think Baron Corbin cutting a promo, you're like, yeah, we're going to roll our eyes. We're going to tune this out. But, like, well, he's in NXT. Let's give him a chance. Let's see what he has to say. And I'm glad I did because, hey, he impressed me. He took this thing seriously. None of that funny haha BS that he was shoving down our throats for the longest time.
Yeah, when I first heard of this promo, I'm like thinking, yeah, we're going to get more of this Happy Corbin BS and all that. But yeah, because this was NXT, I was willing to give him a chance, and I'm glad I did give him a chance. Now, I think the only thing we need, and I agree with Fletch on this one, bring back the lone wolf gimmick. If you do that, that's definitely going to make people really take this guy seriously. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Let's move on, Fletch.
Yeah, so the first thing that we had, our first match of the evening, as it was Schism, going up against the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile. When it was all said and done, the winners of the bout in 13 minutes and 27 seconds was Schism, as it was Ava hitting the Schism mask on Ivy to win the match. Give it up for The Rock's daughter, man. Her first, I believe this is her first official victory in NXT.
Yep.
So, Anthony, it's yours.
What was that time again?
13:27.
3 1/4, 3.5. The unreal athleticism of the Creeds is unmatched even by the main roster. When they and Ivy Nile arrive on Raw or SmackDown, they will turn heads with a larger audience. This was clearly about highlighting Ivy Nile, who ran the wave of momentum that comes from the Creeds and the Dyad clashing. It's just a shame that Ava could not keep up with the field. This was the most fans have seen Ava perform to date, but she looked sluggish and awkward. Her strikes got nowhere close to landing, and she carried none of the imposing presence she has built as a manager. Hopefully, NXT is not too committed to pushing Ava soon. Nile is far more ready and could see a revenge win against her rivals soon. In a repeat showcase of the Creed brothers' strength, Julius deadlifted Jagger Reed from a sitting position into a delayed vertical suplex position. He traded Reed with Brutus and then took him back before hitting the suplex. In an impressive sequence, Brutus planted Fowler and hit him with a standing moonsault. He suplexed Julius onto him before allowing Nile to suplex him onto their rival. And finally, Julius helped Nile hit a standing senton bomb. 3 1/4, teetering on 3.5 stars. Sleeper fight of the night for me. So, not much more to say here. Michael Bullock, your thoughts on this 6-person mixed tag as Schism wins in 13:25, I believe.
Yeah, 3 1/4, 3.5. Yeah, you definitely got to give it up for Ava Raine. This is her first victory in NXT. Give it up for The Rock's daughter. I can't wait to see you. Hopefully, we'll see more of her in the ring. Certainly there's going to be some high hopes. Maybe we'll see another matchup between Ava Raine and Ivy Nile. So, yeah, I do get this feeling that the feud between these two teams is far from over. So, nothing more to say. It's your Sledge.
Yeah, this was solid. This was a pretty good match. I could evenly say that this was a solid about a solid 3.5. Could have been better in certain situations, but I thought at the end of the day they did a really good job with it. So, yeah, solid for what it was worth. Nothing more to add there. Like I said, they did an incredible job with the situation. So we do indeed move on with the next part, as it was Baron Corbin versus Trick Williams, and Baron Corbin winning the match. 11 minutes and 25 seconds. Michael Bullock, it is yours. Mike?
Oh, sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself.
Oh, all right. You got it. It's yours.
yeah. So as I
At
was saying, as
11:25.
yeah. So as I was saying before, I got reminded that I forgot to unmute myself. 3.25 stars. I mean, I think this is a good first way to build Baron Corbin to maybe being the next challenger for Carmelo Hayes and the NXT Championship by getting a win over Trick Williams here. So we'll wait and see what happens with this. So it's yours, Fletch.
Yeah, solid match. 3.25 stars. It could have been a little better in certain situations, but it was very formulaic. But I have nothing bad to say. I thought they did a really good job with it. So yeah, basically Corbin going up against Trick Williams, fine opponent, and you know what? That it is what it is. So the winner was Baron Corbin, big win for him, and maybe this sets him up for an even bigger win down the line. So who knows? Anthony Florio, it's yours.
Would you guys give it like three and a quarter or so?
Yeah,
Yeah, about three and a quarter or so for me as well. Um, good big man match here. I'll be honest, it wasn't really the best, to be honest with you. It wasn't like a blowaway or anything. Um, it was a fine but rather bland battle of strikers. Even with an invested crowd, there was no spark to the match. The Lone Wolf beat up his NXT opponent until Trick decided to sell his knee injury at the last moment. And while this is the kind of match Corbin has needed while continuing to lose repeatedly on SmackDown, these two did not quite have the chemistry to make this a breakout moment for Trick. It merely served to delay more exciting pairings for the Lone Wolf against Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. And NXT highlighted a tweet from Mello who advised that he was healing up from last week and would make Corbin pay soon. Corbin targeted the knee of Trick Williams, setting his leg hard into the announce table and steel steps. And then after the win, Corbin told Ilya Dragunov he would gladly fight him next week. So I think we got that for next week. Look out. It's going to be something else. So 3 to 3.25 stars for this. So it was solid, but it was not quite overly spectacular, if I'm going to be honest with you. So with that being said, MF, let's move on to our next match.
all right. Yep. All right. So with that said, we do indeed move on. The next match that we did have was Mustafa Ali versus Joe Gacy. Mustafa Ali winning the match in 3 minutes and 12 seconds with the 450. You know what? It was fine for what it was worth. It was more of a showcase. But I will say this, man. To have him in NXT is a breath of fresh air, man. Ali needed this so badly, man. And I really feel like he's gonna flourish in NXT. Um, he is gonna. You can even tell they got this rivalry already with the Schism and Wesley, Tyler Bate, and Mustafa Ali. That's a good 6-man fight coming up that they're going to be setting up. So I really am excited for it. I'm really optimistic how that's going to play out. Um, we'll see. Anthony, this is probably about 1.5. You can even make an argument that this was probably the worst fight of the night. However, Ali being in NXT is a breath of fresh air, and look at what we might get down the line. Tyler Bate, Wes Lee, and Ali versus Schism?
Yep.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yes.
I'll take that any day of the week.
I would too. While Baron Corbin took over 10 minutes to defeat Trick Williams, it took Mustafa Ali about 3 or so to down Joe Gacy. It was a genuine squash match in which the Schism's supposed leader looked out of his depth. This was an impactful way to immediately sell that Ali is not just a challenger, but also a genuine threat to Wes Lee's North American title reign. However, it came at the expense of Gacy's remaining credibility. If Schism is going to move forward, Gacy needs to evolve. It might be best to just move on from the whole crew and rebrand around Ava. And Ali promised he would finally win gold in NXT. The NXT North American champion was ready to hand the free agent a title opportunity, but Ali wanted to earn it. And Booker T called Gacy the leader of Schism, but it has looked more like Ava is the true leader with each week. And losses like this don't help. Carrying the momentum from Night of Champions in a more welcoming NXT crowd, Ali felt like a genuine big star in this environment. Even the giddy way Lee acted around him sold a star power Ali has not had recently. And backstage, an angry Joe Gacy said he needed to reevaluate what was costing him wins. And now Lee convinced Tyler Bate and Wes Lee that they needed to fight one-on-one soon. And I agree. 1.5, one of the worst fights of the night here. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, you got Mustafa Ali down there in NXT. Breath of fresh air, like MF just said. I think it's definitely going to help him, especially him working with those younger guys. Can make for some good stuff down there.
Oh yeah, this would definitely help him. And who knows, maybe it'll definitely work out for Mustafa Ali being in NXT. So we'll wait and see. 1.5. I do agree with you on everything you guys have said. So let's just move on.
All right. Next up, that we do move on from, then it leads us to Eddie Thorpe. Oh, wait, let me see. Just want to make sure. Yeah, Eddie Thorpe and Damon Kemp. Eddie Thorpe winning the match at 406. We don't really need to talk about this one. Then we had Scripps versus Dabba-Kato, and Scripps winning that match in 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Then it led us to the main event of the evening, as it was a number one contenders battle royale for the NXT Women's title. And when it was all said and done, the winner of the bout in 13 minutes and 5 seconds is Thea Hale of Chase University. Yes, Chase U hits the gold mine, and Thea Hale now becomes the number one contender. She gets the opportunity of a lifetime, and she gets to fight with Tiffany Stratton for the NXT Women's title. Shocker of the night. I know Florio and Bullock, you probably were thinking, there's no way Thea Hale's going to win this. Guess what? She won it all. And Chase U, it went bonkers. You had fans running from the little section, the Chase U section. They were running from Gorilla. And actually, there was also a big surprise. The Calverter twins. Yes, if you don't know who they are, these were the female college basketball players from the Miami University that went all the way. I believe they got to like Elite 8, close to Women's Final 4. And they actually signed an NIL deal with WWE to join with WWE. And now they're going through the NXT product. This was their first night, and they were a part of the Chase University celebration. So let's see how that plays out. Look, you saw the look on the faces of Charlie Dempsey and the guys at the Rampway. They were thoroughly impressed. They were applauding and giving a lot of love for Thea Hale. I don't know, man. I feel like maybe this could be something special. I don't know. I know she's gonna give it her. She's gonna give it her all. I don't know if she's walking out the champion, but I will say this, man. What a night! What a moment for Thea Hale, and for Chase U. I gotta say, man, this was awesome. I was pleasantly surprised that she won it all. Anthony, it's yours.
Second best fight of the night here. This was it's also around the 3.25 star, maybe 3.5 here. As battle royals go, this was solid. It lacked strong moments, but did use the cast of interesting characters in the women's division. NXT could have chosen an easy option with a Lyra Valkyria, a Gigi Dolan, or a Cora Jade to win. But instead, the most unlikely victor emerged. Thea Hale has not won any big matches lately, but she has been constantly improving. She will face the biggest challenge of her career in an NXT Women's Championship match against Tiffany Stratton. Two of the brand's most promising young stars will collide soon, and the crowd will be genuinely invested in a shocking upset. It will not happen, but this is a great way to see how far Hale can go as a competitor. Charlie Dempsey and Drew Gulak were the surprising catalyst to give her just that extra bit of legitimacy that could make her a new top name in the division. Early in the night, Dana Brooke revealed she was joining the Battle Royal. She's not a free agent, unlike Mustafa Ali and Baron Corbin, so that didn't make sense. In an interview, Tiffany Stratton welcomed all challengers and put over Valkyria as the biggest threat, respecting her game after their match at Battleground. A welcoming crowd gave Brooke almost no reaction. Even when she got to the final three, they weren't behind her. Oro Mensah saved Jakara Jackson from elimination. Later, Valentina Feroz and Yulissa Leon took out both Jackson and Lash Legend. The heels eliminated them right afterward, despite being out of the match. Blair Davenport arrived to watch from ringside. Roxanne Perez rolled out to attack her. Tatum Paxley eliminated herself to help Davenport lay out the Prodigy, setting her up to get eliminated. JC Jane tried to eliminate Valkyria, but got sent to the floor with a head scissors takedown by the Valkyrie. Cora Jade then kicked Valkyria off the ropes for an elimination, and the ring was completely filled with Chase U students at the end to celebrate Hale. It's the craziest thing I've seen, the wildest thing I've seen since the night Rhea Ripley won the NXT Women's Championship from Shayna Baszler when they had that mosh pit in the ring, as we all remember. So, but nonetheless, the biggest win for Thea Hale in her young career. Could it lead to an even bigger win when she does get that opportunity against Tiffany Stratton? Most likely not, but I know exactly what will happen. She'll get some hope spots, she'll get a few hope spots, but in the end, the center of the universe will successfully defend. So there isn't much more to say on that, but shocking outcome. And if Bullock and I were doing the commentary for that, Bullock's the voice of NXT, he probably would have done the Vic Joseph whoa on that one. So and he probably would have. So but anyways, and of course, as we always say, battle royals are tough to rate, but in this case, this was one of the easier ones to rate. About 3.25 or so. And the second best fight of the night, that 6-person mixed tag was a smidgen better, but this was just as good. So not much more to say on this. 3.25, Michael Bullock. Whoa, Thea Hale, first challenger for Tiffany Stratton. Wow, got to give your crew credit there. They could have gone the safe and easy route with those names I mentioned before, but the last name any of us were expecting, and I'm sure you, especially Mr. NXT, was Thea Hale. But nonetheless, here we are. Thea Hale, the biggest win of her career. But could it lead to an even bigger win down the road? I say most likely not. So, Michael Bullock, come on in. Thea Hale, the first challenger for Tiffany Stratton in the NXT Women's Championship. A very bold and interesting choice, I would say. So, Bullock, are you there? If so, come on in and let's get your thoughts on this. He might, I don't know if he stepped away or anything, but he might have, I don't know, maybe he stepped away or something. I don't know. Not hearing from Bullock there, MF. So.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. All right. We're just going to have to move on. So overall review, Anthony, it was going to be yours anyway. So you lead off on the overall review.
Fair enough. Last week, NXT built upon momentum from Battleground to deliver one of its best episodes of the year. But last night's show did not really keep that momentum moving forward. The matches were short when they needed to be longer, except Baron Corbin versus Trick Williams, which could have been much shorter. Too much of the focus was on main roster stars over the foundation of the roster. The real highlights of the night were Thea Hale and Ivy Nile. Both got to show what they can do with a growing spotlight. Hopefully, both can carry that forward to the future. The women's division needs young stars to step up while allowing the likes of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade to move on, since they are beyond this roster at this point. The card promised for next week has serious potential, especially if Seth freaking Rollins versus Braun Breaker for the World Heavyweight Championship is the main event. That should make up for this somewhat forgettable night of action. It wasn't a total blah, but I kind of felt it was a step down from last week. So I would probably give this somewhere around 6.5, to be honest. So I don't know if Bullock is back yet. If he is, come on in, and we'll get in. Okay, there he is. Bullock, we got to get your thoughts on the women's battle royale that Thea Hale won in 13:05, and also your overall thoughts on last night's NXT.
Yeah, I mean, Thea Hale winning the Battle Royal, I mean, the biggest win for her, and now could it lead to even something bigger? We'll see, but definitely a big moment for her. You know, she's going to probably be the underdog against Tiffany Stratton, but I'm sure she'll give it her absolute finest. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, the Battle Royal, I'll give this about maybe another 3.25 on this one. And as for my overall thoughts, I'll give it 6. I mean, yeah, it is a step down from last week, but yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. So now let's get into to Dynamite.
Six for me as well. You guys pretty much covered it. So here we go, Dynamite. We started off with the international title on the line, as it was Orange Cassidy versus Swerve Strickland, and Orange Cassidy winning the match in 15 minutes and 40 seconds right out of the gate. Good, legit, hard-nosed fight. This is easily 3.5. You could even make an argument for possible 4, but it was 3.25, 3.5, 3.5 to 3.75 is my rating. So nothing more to say. Anthony, the international champions, remains champion.
I'm kind of a little surprised by that. I thought Swerve was going to take the title off of him, to be honest with you. But when I heard this was going to be the opening match, I'm like, yeah, they're probably going to keep it on Cassidy, which is fine with me. I don't have any problem with that, because we all know he's made that title prestigious ever since they strapped him with it. Let's see here. First things first, of course, Orange Cassidy pulling the tights and getting the win. Let's not forget that. I can't stress that enough. He hooked the tights of Swerve to secure the victory in a high-quality, high-energy match to start the show. Cassidy overcame a game Strickland and once again proved his toughness, fighting through a late match attack on his head and neck to seize an opening and use the tights in the same way his challenger had moments earlier. A post-match beatdown brought out Sting and Darby Allin, as it appears those two will rekindle their rivalry with the leader of the Mogul Embassy, doing so with the seemingly unbeatable AEW International Champion by their side. This was a very good match between two guys with momentum on their side and a finish that protected Swerve while advancing the story that Orange Cassidy is feeling mounting pressure and desperation with every passing title defense. The last 2 or so months have proven that starting a show with Orange Cassidy is hardly a bad idea. And Cassidy, had some additional K-tape on him, telling the effects of his grueling title defenses in recent months. Champion mockingly unloaded his half-heated right hands in response to body shots by the challenger. Cassidy delivered a running DDT from the ring apron to the floor, then added a diving DDT back in the ring, but Strickland kicked out. Strickland uncorked the house call and double stomped, then hooked the jeans, but still could not keep Cassidy down for 3. And Cassidy proved turnabout is fair play, hooking the tights to retain the title as Excalibur put over the mounting desperation of the champion. So it was a 4-star. You can certainly make an argument for 4 on this, but 3.5, 3.75, definitely also a correct rating as well. So, but either way you slice it, you could certainly make an argument for Fight of the Night honors here. No question about that. But fantastic way to start the show. So Not much more to say. Michael Bullock, I'll be honest. Like I said, I thought Swerve was going to take the title off of him, but no. Orange Cassidy remains the champ and continues to make that international title the workhorse title of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, Orange Cassidy is definitely making this international championship relevant, and that's what he's done with ever since he won it. I mean, he's put on some really good matches, and this one here was no different. 3.5, 3 3/4. I'm with you on this one. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So let's move on.
All right, we do indeed move on to a six-man tag team fight, as it was Rocky Romero and the best friends, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. They went up against the Blackpool Combat Club, John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta. And it was Blackpool Combat Club winning the match in 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Anthony, it is yours.
My boys get another win. I love it. Yes, sir. Of course, who did they fight against? They fought against New Japan Pro Wrestling's Chaos faction of Rocky Romero, Trent Beretta, and Chuck Taylor. And MF, we all know who the leader of that faction is now, don't we?
Yes, we do. The Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. I'll have more on that in a second. The heels look like total badasses in doing so, essentially shrugging off everything their opponents threw at them before putting them away decisively and definitively. The post-match challenge by Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks for a 6-man tag on next week's show sets up a high-profile main event and continues the war between the BCC and the Elite. Beyond that, this was a nice way to introduce the AEW faithful to the upcoming program that's going to go down between Bryan Danielson, who sat in on commentary, and Kazuchika Okada. What? Are you kidding me? That match is rightly considered a dream match and should be an instant match of the year candidate. No, let me rephrase that. Will be an instant match of the year candidate. Booking the Rainmakers faction against Danielson's here was a great excuse to plant the seeds for that feud, which takes shape in the coming weeks ahead of the Forbidden Door pay-per-view on June 25. Video package recapping Danielson's challenge to Kazuchika Okada for Forbidden Door aired. Excalibur followed up by explaining who Chaos was for fans unfamiliar with Okada or his New Japan Pro Wrestling faction. Continuing the New Japan connection, Excalibur revealed John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli just returned from Japan, where they appeared on the Dominion card. MF, I know you know all about that.
Yep.
Best Friends scored a close 2 count on Moxley off of Strong Zero. Moxley tapped out Romero with the Bulldog choke, while Wheeler Yuta pummeled Chuck Taylor with elbow strikes for the win. And then after the match, Hangman Adam Page and the Young Bucks appeared on the video screen and challenged John Moxley, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli to a trios match on next week's Dynamite, from where it all started for Dynamite, Washington, D.C. You know that's going to be the show stealer right there. So for this, I will give it about 2.5 to 2 3/4 of a star for the effort. So nothing more to say here. Michael Bullock, predictable outcome, but, Chaos made it interesting. But let's not forget, and this is a great way to plant the seeds for the dream match at Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson against Kazuchika Okada. Holy crap, I can't believe we're going to get this.
Yeah, I mean, like 2.5, 2 3/4. I mean, this was a good match here. I mean, Chaos definitely gave the BCC a lot they can handle, and it definitely adds build to that dream matchup. I mean, I can't believe myself we're getting this. Kazuchika Okada and Bryan Danielson. Oh my gosh. I'm going to say this right now, and I don't care what anybody says. I mean, you're looking at another potential match of the year, and you know what? I'll even go as far as to say if they can give these two a good amount of time, I think this is going to be the match of the year. Because when you got someone like Bryan Danielson, and then probably the best the best wrestler in New Japan Pro Wrestling in the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada. These two are going to steal the damn show. So, man, I cannot wait for this. So, that's all I can say. Fletch, it is yours. And all I can say is when it comes to Danielson and Okada, I'm going on the record saying this is going to be the match of the year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Um, yeah, all right. So we do indeed move on a little bit. Yeah, this was about a 2.5 to 3, and you guys pretty much touched on everything else. So I'm not even going to go and continue this one. So we got Dresalico and Preston Vance versus Hook and Jungle Boy Jack Perry in a Texas tornado matchup. Of course, that means no tags. Basically, all four men in the ring at the same time, and it was Jungle Boy and Hook winning the match in 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Michael Bullock is yours.
2.5 stars for this. I mean, I thought it was a good match. I mean, I thought it could they could have gone a little bit more on this one, but you know what? I enjoyed it for what it was, and the right outcome was never in doubt with Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Hook going over. So there's nothing more to say. It's yours, Fletch.
Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, and Hook going over. No big surprise. 2.5 stars for me. Solid matchup. Really nothing more to add. So Floyo, it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5, 2 3/4. It was nice to see the callback to Perry and Hook's previous short-term partnership, but the heel's been so inconsistently utilized in a role of any real meaning that it is impossible not to think that this would have meant so much more had fans had any reason to care about Vance and Dralistico at all. Instead, they very much came off as big bads of the week, introduced for a short period before being beaten back into irrelevancy. That's not of anyone involved, no matter how much some will claim it was a strong victory for the babyfaces. Perry attacked Dralistico, clawing at his mask in a move that is traditionally something a heel would do. Hook jumped off the guardrail and rocked Vance with a steel chain wrap fist, busting Vance open like a stuffed pig, and we also would have accepted Jon Moxley too. Babyfaces teamed up on Vance, culminating with a chair shot from Perry and a T-bone suplex from Hook to a table. And then Hook trapped Jose in Red Rum, and Perry applied the snare trap on Dralistico for the submission win. 2.5, 2 3/4. MF, let's move on.
All right. Definitely had a squash fight with Konosuke Takesha. We're not even talking about that one. Worst fight of the night by default. Then we had the TBS title on the line. Chris Statlander versus Anna JAS. And when it was all said and done, it was Chris Statlander winning the match, 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Solid matchup. Good win for her. And, it just continues the nice run that she's been getting lately. So there's really nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
The theme so far, another 2.5 to 2 3/4 star match. Chris Statlander successfully defending the TBS championship against Anna Jay in a good competitive match. Anna Jay worked the head and neck during the commercial break, but the champ fought back and ultimately put her away for the successful retention. Taya Valkyrie watched from backstage, continuing to tease that she will be the first real feud for Statlander, which at least makes sense within the context of the events of Double or Nothing. And MF, you and I especially know this. Taya Valkyrie has always been a better heel. So putting her in that spot against a beloved babyface should only help to strengthen Chris Statlander, while positioning the former Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion and AAA Reina de Reinas champ in a role that better suits her. Let me see. And Taya Valkyrie, still frustrated over the way Double or Nothing went, watched from backstage as Statlander retained via the tombstone. So 2.5, 2 3/4 for this. So theme of the night so far. So Not much more to say. Michael Bullock, Chris Statlander using your man's all-time move, the Tombstone. How did it look to you?
I think she did it really well. I mean, I think I think the Undertaker must have been impressed with that, but I digress. But anywho, 2.5 stars, like you said, this has been the theme of the night. But Chris Statlander, she's out to prove that she's a fighting champion, and she'll turn back the challenge of many different competitors. And Anna JAS is definitely definitely not different here. And yeah, I think the first real challenger will be Taya Valkyrie, and I think Valkyrie is better as a heel than a babyface. So we'll see what happens with that. So it's yours, Fletch.
All right, yeah, 2.5 stars, solid. Main event, it was Jay White versus Ricky Starks. Jay White winning the match in roughly 13 minutes. Anthony, it's yours.
And you know I got to do it, MF. Absolutely. Got to do the Jesse laugh on this one because this is becoming a running gag between myself and MF. MF's hatred for Jay White and my love of Jay White. And if we were doing the commentary, it would have worked out perfectly. With Jay White winning the match, MF would have yelled out miscarriage of justice, and I would have done a ha ha ha. And I love it. So, all right. Second best fight of the night here, 3.25, 3.5. The outcome seemingly creates the separation between Ricky Starks that will allow him to go off and battle the Guns in some form or fashion, while Jay White breaks off to combat FTR alongside Juice Robinson. In what universe Tony Khan and AEW Brass think that Starks would best be utilized in a feud with the second generation heels is anyone's guess, though. He's better than that, an immensely talented performer who should be above heating White up for a run at the tag titles or with CM Punk. As it stands, Switchblade picked up a big win and now sets his sights on a monumental and historic first Collision main event in which he will share the ring with the biggest star in the company, a moment that should bode very well for him as he continues to find his footing in AEW. Oh, by the way, the very first main event of Collision, Juice Robinson, Jay White, and Samoa Joe versus the World Tag Team Champions FTR and CM Punk. Yowza. Okay. But anyways, and like I said, and earlier in the show, Tony Khan announced that Jay White would team with Juice Robinson and the Ring of Honor TV champ Samoa Joe to battle the World Tag Champs FTR and CM Punk in the main event of the Collision debut 10 days from now. Late in the match, Starks obliterated White with a spear and ended the Rochambeau. The latter led to a referee bump. Guns slid in the ring, delivered 310 to Yuma, and set up White's victory via the Blade Runner. 3.25, 3.5 for the effort here. Second best fight of the night. So there isn't much more to say except Michael Bullock, by hook or by crook, Jay White, with some big time momentum going into that huge 6-man tag team main event on that debut Collision in 10 days.
Yeah, definitely a big win for Jay White. 3.25, 3.5 stars. It definitely gives him some momentum going into the first main event of the new AEW Collision on 10 days from now, when him, along with Juice Robinson and the Ring of Honor TV champ Samoa Joe, going up against the AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR and the returning CM Punk. And with this being in Chicago, you know that crowd's going to be going crazy for CM Punk. So I definitely cannot wait to see what happens with this. So yeah, so there's really nothing more to say. Overall thoughts, time, Fletch.
All right. It goes to you, Michael Bullock. So you lead off on the because like you said, it was about a 3-star bout. Fine main event. Bullock, you lead off.
I'll give this about a 7 out of 10. I mean, I thought it was a good addition of Dynamite. I mean, there were some things I thought that definitely could have been better. I mean, but all in all, a good show here. So it's yours, Fletch.
Yeah, 7 out of 10. Agreed. Really nothing more to say. Anthony, final word.
Yeah, about 7.5 for me. Um, there is a lot happening in AEW right now. Maybe too much, but thus far, Tony Khan has done a solid job of differentiating what he is planning for Collision versus what he has in store for Forbidden Door, and this show proved it. The main event was centered on promoting Collision. Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada's epic encounter at Forbidden Door was previewed at the same time. Blackpool Combat's feud with the Elite advanced by way of a challenge for next week, and we saw opening promo in a feud between MJF and Adam Cole that could conceivably be a headline bout at Forbidden Door or even All In at Wembley Stadium. There are clearly plans in place, and the directions for several top stars are obvious. The question, has always been the case with Khan and company, is whether things can stay on track long enough to get there in a way that keeps fans excited and invested rather than worn out. Or in the case of Double or Nothing, dismayed by frustratingly rushed cards. This week's show was a solid thumbs up, gave fans something to be excited about in the future, and highlighted key players that will carry the company through the summer. 7.5. And let me quickly set the table for tomorrow night's TXN Sports World. While we have a lull here, light docket. To be honest with you, Phoenix Suns have a brand new coach. We'll tell you who that is. We'll also preview Week 9 of the USFL. MF, if you have any UFC or boxing events that need to be addressed, feel free.
Actually, there's a big UFC event coming up this Saturday, so I can definitely preview that.
There you go. Okay, so we'll have MF preview that UFC event. And Michael Bullock, if you're on the show tomorrow night, we're going to have you main event the show tomorrow night with your experiences from the Special Olympics State Summer Games. Tell us how you did and how all our friends did. So that's the show. Phoenix Suns' new head coach. Week 9 preview of the USFL. MF will preview the newest UFC pay-per-view, and then we'll have Bullock take it home with his Special Olympics State Summer Games experience. First time in 4 years that they were back in full, no COVID restrictions. So praise the Lord for that. So we'll get into all that tomorrow night, 10:30, TXN Sports World. MF, take it home.
All right, and then after that, we'll do it all over again on Friday with another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, SmackDown Live, Rampage, and then that will set us up for what's gonna be going down next week. So until then, thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.